Hey, what's up? It's Phil. Welcome to this. No, that's not good. In this episode of the show, I talk with my friend CJ Blackman, and we cover a multitude of topics from, what do we start with?
Social dynamics,
health, race, social media killing our brains, and it really spans the gamut. We had a great conversation. Well, I had a good time. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, I had a great time.
Awesome. So I hope that you'll enjoy our conversation, and thanks for tuning in. Well, let's start the show with a cheers.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers, buddy. It's good to have you in the studio.
Post-quarantine.
Post-COVID, post-quarantine.
And the world is now, hopefully, returning to some semblance of normalcy.
Indeed, the new normal. So, you're CJ, and I'm Phil, and this is the show. Welcome. You can look at the camera if you want. We're going to break the fourth wall a few times here. It's going to get crazy. It's going to get weird.
It's all good.
My buddy CJ is a very interesting cat. He's got all sorts of just life experience. One of the most experienced people at just getting shit done and making it happen that I've ever had the pleasure of intermingling with on a social level, and so I wanted to invite you in because you're interesting.
Thank you for the invite.
I called you and you were like, "What are we doing? Like, what? Why?
I was like, "Okay, cool. Let's do it."
So let's start at the top, man. Where are you from?
I grew up in San Francisco, but originally I'm from Trinidad and Tobago.
You're from Trinidad? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my family came to the U.S. in 1995 and been here ever since, except for my time in the Navy.
Okay.
And then that's the only time I left, and then came back to San Francisco after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why did you come? Why did you leave Trinidad and Tobago?
A lot of people don't know this because they see the touristy Caribbean side of it, but
I've never been. I'm nothing to.
A lot of the Caribbean, it's either very, very touristy. Mm-hmm. So, like, if someone is not from the island themselves, they'll come and be like, "Oh, this island is beautiful," but not knowing that there's a very large disparity. Because if you're native to the island, you're very poor. Mm-hmm. So the word I'm looking for. The level of opportunity there is none at that time. There's more now, but just either it's hotels and resorts or just massive amounts of poverty. So my mom, she decided to take us from Trinidad and bring us to the United States because we would just have way more education, opportunity, and be able to pursue the American dream here.
Okay. So the opportunity for increasing your social status, your socioeconomic status was
educate everything. It was just better here. There was much more opportunity in the United States rather than if I was back home. I don't know what I would be doing, but it wouldn't be nowhere near to the level of what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So it's really hard.
Okay.
Yeah. To thrive and survive.
So in 95, how old were you? Like 10?
Yeah, 10 years old.
Okay, so 10 years old, your mom goes, CJ, we're going to move to America. And what's your first reaction?
Actually, there's an interesting story behind that. I didn't meet my mom until I was 10 years old. So,
hang on.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So a stranger to you walks in and says, hey, guy that you don't know me, but I'm going to take you out of here to America.
So
please unpack that for me.
When I was 3 years old, my mom, and I don't remember any of this, my mom gave me and my siblings to my grandmother.
Okay.
And my grandmother raised us from 3 until 10 until we came here. So during that entire time, I had no idea who my mom. I thought my grandmother was my mom. So I would call my grandmother mom. Everyone around me called my grandmother their mom, but not knowing that everyone that was calling my grandmother mom were my uncles and aunts. So I just thought like, oh, these people are just my brothers and sisters, right? Because you're a child, so you don't know. You're just like, oh, everyone calls her mom. Yeah. This must be mom. So I thought but even as a kid, I was like, why are some of my brothers and sisters so much older than me? But again, you're 5, 6 years old. You can't really put the pieces together, right? And everyone. So I was like, okay, this is my mom. And then one day, my biological mother comes down, and my grandmother was like, "Oh, you get to meet your mom today." It was like, "What are you?"
That's confusing.
I was like, "What are you talking about? You're my mom." She goes, "No, no, 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 no." She's like, "I'm your mother's mom. And again, I'm 10 years old, so I'm like, "Wait, what?" She's like, "All right, you see how?"
And it never came up before?
Never, not once did it come up, because I didn't ever speak to my mom on the phone. I remember sometimes as a kid, my grandmother would be like, "Hey, someone's calling from the U.S." and she'd be like, "Your mom's," but I didn't. I was just like, "What is she?" I was
so
like,
your mom was stateside.
She was already in America.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So she left us in Trinidad
she wasn't
to come
just
to America.
Like hanging out on the other side of the island.
No. She was gone.
Gotta throw that in there, man.
Sorry.
Doesn't make your mom look great.
So she was in San Francisco.
Okay.
And she was working and saving up money to get me, my brothers and my sister, to get us to this country, which it's pretty expensive. So it took her 7 years to be able to get all the paperwork, get all the money to bring her kids up here. So I remembered as a kid, sometimes I would talk on the phone to a woman, but she never said she was my mom, but she was like, "Hey, how are you?" She would act very concerned, like, "How are you doing?" But again, I'm 6, 7, 8 years old.
Right.
I'm just like,
"All right, talk to anybody.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Yeah,
nice to talk to you." And then she came down, and then it's weird. I remember the very first time I met my mom. She was just like, "Hey, CJ, it's nice to see you again." And I looked at her, and she looks exactly like
you
me.
like me, yeah.
And I was like, I was like, this makes a lot more sense, because I'm like, me and my mom have the same face. So I look at it, I was like, okay. And then it made sense, like, oh, your grandmother, mom. All right, now it makes sense. But everyone called my grandmother mom. Everyone. So even my cousins called her mom. So we were just like, oh, okay. So it was a little confusing. Then she brought us to the U.S.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I know it's a little weird.
No, that's fine. That's a big day. Big day to meet your mom like that.
Well, how many people remember meeting their mom for the first time, right?
I don't remember. She was there. Well, actually, paralleling that a little bit, my mom was very young when she had me, and she gave me to my grandparents for about 9 months. And I was about 2, and I went and lived on a mountain in the middle of East Jesus, Arkansas, somewhere. I don't even remember the name of the mountain. And she would come visit. And I knew she was my mom. But then she would go away for a really long period of time.
So you never had that?
Well, we did,
connection.
but it was. I came from a split household that then kind of rehealed with other parents, and then split again, and then rehealed. And now it's all lava school. But my mother was finishing college, and so she was 20. She was she's 22. 22 when she had me, and it was it was the early 80s, so she was like, all right, well, young. I've just got a divorce and need to get this education on to take care of little me, so I'm going to leave you here on a mountain in Arkansas. And
kind of good of your grandparents to be like, give them to us, we'll take care of them.
Well, between you and I and the rest of the 5 people watching this, my grandfather always wanted boys, and he had 2 girls. And that's no secret in my family, so I don't have any shame saying that. So when I came along, they were very like, "Hey, let's hunt and fish and camp and ride horses and all that stuff." So they weren't, and they also saw that their daughter was struggling. So anyway, enough about me. Nobody cares about that. So all right, so you're stateside now. You're 10 years old. And then what do? You didn't join the Navy at 10.
No. So when I first came to the U.S., I had a pretty strong Caribbean accent. So, I still have it. I just hide it. Now I speak in my American voice.
Yeah, I speak in my American voice, not my Southern voice.
Exactly. You learn how to switch. And as a kid, I remember going to school, and the other kids would make fun of me for the way I sounded. So I remember doing this. I started watching news programs. Because the news in California, Texas, Tennessee, New York, it sounds exactly the same. Where you think a Southern accent or California dude. You would think there would be regional differences. There isn't. So I was like, okay, in order for me to sound like them, I need to mimic them. So I would watch newscasters, and I would enunciate words like them. And I learned my American accent from watching the news.
That's
Even
right.
as a kid, it goes like, hello, and breaking news.
Yeah.
Because they have to over-enunciate, because you never know, the news in California could be getting broadcast in New Hampshire
Yeah.
or South Dakota,
Yeah,
wherever.
it's syndicated all over.
So you can't be like, oh wait, this is a Southern person reading California news. Wait, this
Yeah.
doesn't sound. You know,
You don't want to look too local when
Yeah.
you're reading important stuff.
So I remember I would go to school and I'd like pretend to be like, hello, my name is CJ.
Yeah,
It's a pleasure. And after a while, it just like it's stuck, right?
Yeah,
and then
that's
you
great.
can do it. Went to elementary school, middle school, high school, all out here. And during that time, because where I grew up is a terrible neighborhood. I grew up in Bayview, Hunters Point back then. So
Yes, you're correct.
it was like
Not a great place to.
food stamp,
Yeah.
project living, government subsidies, super, super poor. And the neighborhood we lived in, it just very crime ridden, right? So my mom started enrolling us in like martial arts lessons.
Cool.
And that's how, me being a professional fighter now, it kind of went that way because the instructor of the karate class that I used to go to, he ended up becoming my foster father. So my dad was like the karate teacher.
Free classes.
Yeah. Well,
That's awesome.
but it wasn't until years later. So he ended up fostering me and some of
Okay.
my other siblings. And it was just like, yeah. So like that's how I got my dad through martial arts.
So you've got 5 siblings. You are one of 5. Or
One of 9.
One of Jesus. Okay.
Yeah. So I have 5 sisters and 3 brothers.
5 sisters, 3 brothers.
Yeah.
5 came
And
out.
some are adopted, some are
Nope.
foster. Yeah.
And are they all stateside or they're?
Yes. Everyone's split up. Everyone has kids and they're all
Sure.
married now. I'm the only one, no kids, not married, single. There's not a problem.
Take
with
note, ladies
that.
and guys, whatever.
there's not a problem with that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was my family was very big on military service because my dad, my foster dad, he was in the Marines.
Okay.
And he served in the Marines, and he was just like, I want to make. He didn't force us. He
Mm.
never forced us. He just said because we come from a different country. He was like, being a good citizen, you always want to give back in whatever capacity you could, whether
Sure.
it's military service or just any type of public service. He was like, even if it's volunteering once a week to clean up the neighborhood or Big Brothers program, or I was a member of the Boys and Girls Club, and as I got older, because eventually you kind of, once you're not a boy anymore, you
Kinda age out of that.
you age out. But I remember going back at 18, 19 to just like, hey kids, I'll teach you guys how to throw some punches and kicks, so if anyone ever messes with you, some basic level of self-defense, rather than like, no, don't go around beating people up, but if someone is like messing with you,
Right.
you know more than you did before. Because I remember being a kid not having a clue on how to fight and just getting my ass beat, and then once I knew how to fight, it was just like, oh, I don't want to hurt you, dude. Like, so I would have people come up to me like, hey man, like, or they would say something bad about immigrants or me being poor, and knowing that I have such a wealth of violence, I'm like, oh, okay, you can say whatever you want.
Right. It's like
It's
chirp,
just like,
chirp
I don't-
on, man. I know you're
It's like I don't even be like I could rip your face off. Like I don't even care now.
Yeah.
It's like you would think growing up in a household full of violence, right? Like in
When you
structured
mean
violence.
sibling violence, or you mean?
no not sibling, but like being taught by a parent.
I
who,
understand. Like
yeah.
a martial household.
Yeah.
Okay. I
You would
understand.
think you would breed like, oh, now we all know how to fight. We want to hurt people.
Oh.
Complete opposite. Now, even if someone were to come, to this day, I'd be like, whoa, dude, no. I'm not gonna hurt you.
You're like 6'4", like 230. I'm not sure.
But it's happened though. I've had people. I've had random people. I've been going to the grocery store, walking down the street. Usually mentally,
Yeah.
they're not all there. Come up to me like, "Hey man, what's up? You want to go?" And I'm like, "Hey my man, calm down." I'd rather them do it to me than like some random like elderly person
some
or
easy
chick.
target.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
just like, "Hey, calm down. It's all good. What's going on?" They'd be like, "Ah." And then guys would walk to me and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna really hurt you. I'm gonna subdue you,
Right.
which is I have to hurt you a little bit, but I'm not
Yeah,
gonna.
that can still hurt a lot.
I'm not gonna cause you like grave injury and harm because you're not making a conscious decision.
Right.
And the only time I've ever had to use just brutal violence on a guy outside of professional competition was I saw a guy. It was when I was 15. I guess he was a pimp, and he was beating up one of his employees.
Independent contractor.
Yeah, was it 1099?
That's it. End of the year. Here you go.
And he was beating her she's bloody everywhere. And I'm 15. I'm a teenager. I'm a boy.
Yeah.
And the guy is just like just laying into her. He has her on the ground, kicking her teeth and all. And I was like, at this point, I've been fighting or training martial arts for 5 years. Okay. So I knew more than enough to like take care of this dude.
Right.
But he's a grown man. He's a grown man strength. And I'm 15. I wasn't very big. You know, you haven't filled out yet.
Sure.
I go up to the guy and I'm like, hey, you know, dude, you shouldn't do that. He turns around and he's like, what? You want some too? No. And he starts going crazy. And I'm like, all right, man. And I beat the crap out of this guy.
Where'd you go first? Head, balls, knees, ankle?
Because he was a bigger dude, I already knew he was going to be kind of slow. So I just like punched him right in the throat. Like, boom, he dropped. Yeah, then he got a hold of me. We were tussling a little bit. There was blood everywhere, and I found out.
Your blood? His blood?
His blood. His blood. Blood everywhere. The girl, the girl that he was beating up, she ended up passing away. And the guy...
From that?
Because he was like, imagine a guy my size beating up a woman your wife's size.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long he had been like taking his day out. It could have been 30 seconds. It could have been 5 minutes.
Right. You just rounded a corner, little teenager. Hey, dude.
And I was like, what the? And then I was like, whoa, hey, stop. And me and the guy kept on going at it.
Well,
I knocked that guy out.
He's a murderer now, though. He's got. I mean, they took him away.
No,
this is in San Francisco.
This is San Francisco. Yeah. Well, the thing is, police come. They see two guys. I was this height at 15, but I wasn't this weight. They see two big black dudes beating the crap out of each other. Guns get pulled out. They were like, hey, get on the ground, get on the ground. Yeah, so I dropped to the floor and I'm like, hey. But people were around watching the incident. They were like, no. The young boy, he was protecting the girl. He's the good guy. The big guy, he was the bad guy. And again, we're covered in blood. I'm covered in his blood, my blood.
Right.
And I found out I ended up getting stabbed. Yeah.
You found that out later, just like...
No, because when adrenaline wears off, I didn't even know. I was just like, man, why do I keep... What the... And I was like, this piece of shit stabbed me.
Wow.
So, police come, they handcuff the guy. They bring the paramedics, take the girl away, take the guy away. And the cop literally was like, hey, dude, we're going to escort you home. He was just like, where do you work? I was like, work? I'm 15. Because I'm still really tall. He's I'm 15 years old. He's like, you're not 15. I was like, dude, look at my backpack. I have high school books in here. Yeah. And he was like, oh, okay. So he takes me home, and then he actually notices I'm bleeding. He's like, whoa, we got to go to the hospital first. Go to the hospital, get patched up. They call that police officer, and the guy who had fought, he died.
What? So
I killed, I literally, I beat him so bad, I killed him.
No shit.
And I was like, oh, damn.
I love how matter of fact you say
yeah, but it was just...
I know he was a bad person, from what I can tell.
He's not a very good guy.
He definitely, like, karma's not a bitch, karma's a mirror. Yes. Right? And that guy definitely got...
But it was one of the... That was the first time I ever learned that when you have knowledge, especially knowledge about fighting or firearms, or you have something that can do grave injury to other people, you kind of have to look at it that way, like, hey, I don't want to be violent. Responsibility. But it's, if you bring it to me, it's like if someone breaks into your house. You're not going to be like, dude, I don't want to hurt you, but now you're bringing harm to me and mine.
Right.
I am sorry, but now I got to do what I got to do to, you know, so the line has to be very clear. Like, I never hope to kill anyone, but it's happened several times. So it's like, okay, this is what has happened. It's fine. You know, so it's obviously you don't want it to happen to innocent people. Right. That's not no. But the bad guys need to go.
Bad guys do.
You know, and I draw that line hard. Like, no, if you're a bad dude, you need to go. Like,
now is there? So I've never killed anyone. I'm pretty sure. I'm about 97% sure I've never killed anyone. And is there? So you didn't know that you were going to take that? That wasn't your intent to take his life.
It was just obviously I knew there was a chance.
It came with the territory, kind of thing.
And then that was the first time that made me realize, like, oh, what I'm learning isn't just sporty and fun. This can be incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
But not so. And when people are like, well, you fight professionally. Every time you step into the ring, is that a worry? And I'm like, yeah. But also the same worries every time I step into my car.
I mean,
you can die.
This could
every single time you get behind the wheel of your car, you can die. So I tell people, like, your association with death is a lot closer than you think, because every single time I step into my car,
you could spontaneously combust.
or some guy could be sending a text message, not look up, boom, run right into you, which has happened to one of my friends, which sadly, or I've been rear-ended before, and I was on the Bay Bridge, I'm driving, I look in my rearview mirror where to stop, and I see the guy looking down, and I can't shift over because there's active traffic, and I was just like, this guy's about to hit me.
Here it comes.
And I knew he was going slow enough to where I didn't think I was gonna die, but part of me was like, yeah, this might be it. Boom!
Yeah.
Get hit. I'm pretty banged up. Back got tweaked out, but I was fine. I look, airbag didn't go off. I get out of the car. Look at dude, he's completely unconscious. Call 911. 911 comes. As soon as they come, whole rush of pain. I was like, oh, there he goes. Because, I'm just like, hey, be calm. Just get out of the car. Make sure the guy's okay. He's not okay. Yeah. Call 911. Sit on the side of the road. See, as soon as I see the paramedic, I'm like, hey guys, how you doing? They were like, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm hurting bad.
Yeah.
They were like,
adrenaline's wearing off in 3,
2, and there we go.
Out.
So it's your association with that, because this is just my philosophy, right? You were born, you're going to die. And the moment I realized that I am not going to be here forever, one day you will die, it makes me want to live life more, because with all martial arts, especially Eastern martial arts, they put that ethic of like Budo in your mind, right? Where it's like the warrior's way of living. I would rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war, right? Like, I'd rather know how to like hurt people and protect myself than be the guy who has no skill set, but you're just in a terrible situation. Mm-hmm. But the fact that like, hey, I know, like, one day you're going to pass away. Your wife, everyone you know is going to die one day, right?
Only sure thing in life.
But I when I was a kid, I would look at that and I would get stressed. I'm like, I don't want to die. Like, but no one wants to die. But
right.
But when you go, you know what? If my time on this planet is finite, how can I maximize every day, every hour? How can I really start to live my life? So martial arts, even though it's a weird yin yang, two sides, but it's two sides of the coin of going like, okay, you have this knowledge of hurting people, but it makes you want to be nicer to people. Yeah. You know,
it's kind of it's analogous to you when you push yourself to extremes, right? Like when you break your body down. Some people do it through substances. Some people do it through extreme endeavors. Yeah. It's when you push yourself to the max, you learn more. You learn as much about yourself. So in martial arts, what I'm hearing is when you learn and appreciate how easy it is to destroy something. Yeah. You can then see the flip side of how much more difficult it is to create. Yeah. Right. So like breaking stuff, easy.
Fixing stuff
is very hard.
Very hard.
Very hard.
It's so easy to just like break things. Yeah. It's so hard.
Smash. It's like hell. Actually, my son grabbed this earlier today. This thing already broke, and I'm like, maybe we'll play. And he just goes, and it just smashed in all these little pieces, and it was hard as hell to glue this thing back together. But creation difficult, destruction not.
It just makes you want to appreciate life to its fullest extent, because dude, you only get one round and it's a one-way street.
How that's a very good point. It is a one-way street. There's no reset buttons.
Unfortunately.
How old were you when you had that realization that I had this kind of Peter Parker like responsibility of power?
Probably
that needs to be respected,
at 15, because I've had moments in my life where death has been a clear reminder of like, hey, don't think you're not going to die. It was like when I was 7, 15, 19, 23, 25. It was very very close.
Yeah, those are very specific numbers.
Oh yeah.
What happened at 7?
My cousin tried to stab me to death and put me in the hospital for 6 months. I was 7, he was 8. He had a lot of mental. But Trinidad and Tobago was back there at this time. Mm-hmm. He definitely had mental issues, or his mental development. Something was wrong with him mentally. But I'm not a doctor, so I can't diagnose him. But growing up, he always was a little off, right? Maybe he was schizophrenic or bipolar, but again, I'm not a clinician, so I don't know. And it being a third world country, especially back in 1995, there was no one doing clinical diagnosis on children where it's like, oh, you're ADHD, you're ADD. It's like, dude, you're a third world country. The only thing you're worried about is food, security.
Like, the boy's got the devil in him. Like, that's how you explain things.
Exactly. Something very esoteric. So me and him were walking, and we saw a girl who we both had a little crush on, right? And I remember her name because I had first girl I ever had a crush on, and it was Aisha.
Aisha?
I was 7 years old. I was in love with this girl.
Yeah.
Beautiful, just like, and we're in the Caribbean, so everyone's like super tan, and she was just like, oh yeah. And I remembered, I said hi to her because we went to the same school, but the boys and girls were separate because we were in our schools were subsidized, so it was based on the British schooling system. So it was like primary school, secondary school. We all had uniforms. Boys were with boys, girls were with girls. But she was in my school, and I knew her. We both knew her, but she wasn't in our class. But she was the same age as us.
Okay.
And I saw her, and I started talking to her, and I'm just like, all right, when you're 7, you don't know how to talk to girls. So, but I was just like, oh, hey, how you doing? All I knew was every time I saw her, I started getting nervous, and my palms got sweaty, and I was like, so weird. And then my older brother was like, you like her, genius. Like, oh, okay. And I wanted to talk to her, and as I'm talking to her, all of a sudden, I was like, why am I so cold? My cousin, me and Aisha are walking ahead of him. He broke a bottle, like a glass,
like an old
beer,
Pepsi bottle,
like a Corona, smashed it, and started stabbing me in my back.
In the back?
Yeah, my lower back. I have scars all over, but I mean, 7 to I'm 36 now. Scars are and I'm really dark, so the scars are super small. But they started stabbing me, and I just remember feeling like a couple pinches. Like, wait, why's my back? I thought I was getting bitten by mosquitoes or something, and then I turn around, and just blood everywhere. 7-year-old. Aren't that 7-year-olds aren't that big, so there's not a lot of them. There's not a lot of blood to bleed. I just saw the blood. I was like, why is all this blood here? And then I was like, what? And then Aisha started screaming. I remember this because I looked at her. And then she started crying, and then I just dropped. Right, woke up in the hospital. I was just like, why am I here? Luckily, through serendipity or whatever, there was a guy driving by. So me and David, my cousin, we were walking from school. So it's just, and in the Caribbean, everyone knows everyone. So 7-year-olds can walk down the street and not have to worry about like some weird predator. Like, I mean, you can't do that here because you see 2 7-year-olds walking down the street. That's a kidnapper's dream, right? But everyone knows that it's an island. You know everybody. We were walking home, and there's a guy who went to church with my grandmother, who was my mom. He sees me.
It all comes together.
Yeah, he sees me just laying on the ground, a 7-year-old girl screaming, and another 8-year-old boy with a glass in his hand, and took off running. So he was like, what the?
Your cousin took off running.
Right. The guy sees this little boy just bleeding, and then Aisha's delirious, right? The 7-year-old girl should be.
Right, yeah, that's scarring.
He sees me. He doesn't even know if I'm dead or alive, but I think he saw me like breathe. He picks me up, puts me in his car, covered in blood, right? Drives me to the nearest hospital, which isn't near because there's only 2 hospitals on the entire island. So we go to the hospital. Luckily, he recognizes me. He's like, oh, you. I mean, he sees my face and he's like, I think this might be, my grandmother's name is Zatilia. He's like, this might be Zatilia's boy. I wake up 3 days later. My grandmother's there, covered in. I was like, what happened? And then they break down. They break the story down for me. But that kind of changed my perspective on death, life and death, right? Because you're 7. So if one of your closest family members tries to murder you at 7 years old, it does kind of create, and I'm not saying it's a healthy viewpoint, but I did have a lot of PTSD from that because no kid should be that familiar with death at that young of an age,
Do you think it serves you now that you're an adult? That, like, it's kind of,
yes, you know what I mean, yes, but in a very, not in a good way for a long time, and even not now because my perception of, I can be a little cold, and I've had exes tell me that, I've had my ex-wife tell me that, where someone will come to me with an issue, and I go, oh, it's fine. Like, no one's trying to kill you, so you're good, right? And again, I'm not relating my experience to theirs because my level 10 is not your level 10 because you're a completely different person. Your life experience is so different than mine. I can't say my life was harder than yours. I don't know what a level 10 is to you. Your 10 could be my 12. Or you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So it's all subjective.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had friends, family members, kind of points to the reason why now I'm single, because it's hard for me to relate to partners when they're bringing to me an issue and I'm just like, so what's the problem? And they go, well, it's an issue. I was like, they didn't try to.
Yeah.
No one's
Banana Republic ran out of khakis. That's not a problem.
No one's trying to shoot you.
Right. Exactly.
No one's trying to rape you, stab you. What's the issue?
Do you think that it's not your obligation to explain your past to anyone?
Yeah, but that is true.
But if you in no way are you not entitled. What's the word I'm looking for? In no way are you. Do you have to? If whoever your partner is, in no way are you going to date number 2. Be like, by the way, I've killed this many people. I've been trying to kill.
Oh no.
Because that's gonna put up more barriers than is worth it.
Yes.
But if somebody comes at you with oh, I'm depressed because my social media feed isn't getting the
views I want,
the views I feel it deserves.
Then in my mind, I'm just like,
are you kidding me?
The biggest concern of your day
really?
is
what that. Right. Okay.
Dude, I come from a third world country, massive amounts of violence, poverty, physical abuse, sexual abuse, and this is the biggest concern you have? And that's what I'm thinking, but I've learned as an adult, and especially to be a very compassionate person, I have to be empathetic, and that's the biggest thing. That's the hardest struggle in my life, is learning empathy. And I'm not even saying I've learned it. I'm still sometimes, people will tell me their issues, and I have no reaction, and I go, no, this person is my friend. So it clearly bothers you enough to say it.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, it's important to them. Even though I might not feel nothing towards whatever you're talking about, I'm like, okay, I'm sorry you're going through that. And dude, that's taken me 36 years to just go
you're never going to be done learning that.
Oh my, it's so hard, because sometimes I just want to be like, shut up. What are you talking about? That's not a problem. That's not a problem. That's a first world problem. Yeah. The people are worried about eating food, and you're worried about, oh, my car is red and I want to paint it blue. Okay. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard. It's hard sometimes to relate to people who haven't been in similar situations, whether it's have PTSD
I don't know that you have to relate to them.
But in the sense of, I've noticed that my core group of friends, people who I would consider these are my go-to. Right.
I got a free hour. You want to hang out?
They tend to have similar levels of trauma to me, because I think on some level you are attracted to a vibration or a vibe that's the energy that's similar to yourself, right? Whether that's, not saying that could be your only.
I'm listening.
Yeah, your only circle of trust, but in order for you to have intimacy with your friends or whoever, you kind of have to have a similar not in the sense of violence,
you can't be you can't be
you can't have the guy who's just like, oh, I grew up, my father used to abuse me and use drugs, and then this other person is Vanderbilt, and you're like, okay, that's right. It's gonna be hard to not saying it can't work, but it's, you know what I'm saying,
you gotta have things to relate to.
Exactly.
You gotta have things to relate to. Common ground is common ground. You know what, I'm gonna boil it down even more. Communication.
Yes.
Communication finds common ground, and common ground builds relationships. Is how I will personally package that, I think. And if you can find common ground with anybody, you can get along with anybody.
Oh yeah.
Finding that shit is tough though sometimes.
Sometimes, but luckily, I've been lucky to where most of my group, it's either through fighting, fitness, massage, military. So there's a thread there where okay, me and you vibe on this wavelength. Yeah. And we're friends. So okay, I can connect with him. We can go deeper, not on this, but because our foundation is established on this precedence, we can go from there. We can build from there, Yeah. But I have had conversations. There's one thing, I hate small talk. Oh my God. When you first meet someone, and you gotta have to
so how was your day? And you go you don't care how my day was.
I was like, man, shoot me in the face. Or no, I hate because once you have a tight group of friends, or one or two friends who you're like, this is what I want, you know?
How about this though? I think the true test. Let me just hear me out here.
Yeah.
So I think the true test of a good friend is someone that you can comfortably be quiet with.
Yes.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
like how you feel like. I mean, obviously we're having a great conversation right now, but like if
I call it you don't have to fill
you have to
space
fill
with
the
words.
void.
Yeah. And I feel like some people
like, hey, you doing all right over there?
Yeah.
Like if I'm just like clicking,
Yeah.
like you're you know.
like you're just filling
like
space,
like a roommate
space.
or something like
Yeah.
that, where it's just like you're clicking on your computer, they're over here doing their thing, and you're not like, you know, hey, how you doing? You know,
Everything
like,
okay? And
Everything
you're like,
good?
dude.
It's like, what? Yeah, I'm fine. Like,
You're like, you don't need to fill the void with
Yeah,
words.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
fine. It's okay. This is what I'm like. It's okay to not talk, to be quiet.
sometimes it's beautiful to not talk.
Dude, I've gotten into so many arguments with ex-wife, ex-girlfriend, even my most recent ex-girlfriend, where we would be out with her friends, having a good time. They're talking about a topic that I have no interest in.
Oh,
no,
see, that's different though.
but I can't contribute to because but it's something I don't know much about, right?
Okay. Give me an example. Like
Well,
what are they talking
or
about?
even if it's something like remotely feminine, right? They're talking about something that women know very intimately.
Mhm.
I am a guy.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty masculine guy. So I don't really know much about
Right.
the topic, nor do I want to talk about
There's
it.
no one else, like no other men at the table? Or
No. It'd be
Okay.
like her, a couple of her friends, and me, right? And they're talking. So I'm like,
We're
I'm
talking
gonna
about,
let you.
makeup application techniques or something.
Yeah, she was in
something
the-
you definitely have no clue.
Yeah, she was in the beauty industry, right?
Oh,
so,
really? Okay.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna let you guys have your space.
Sure.
Communicate. Boom, boom, boom. Do your thing.
You didn't actually say that, right?
No,
Okay.
no, God no. But it's just like I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
So if I don't, and I learned this in the military and growing up the way I grew up. If you don't have anything to say, shut up. It's fine to be. It's okay, especially now in 2021 where everyone wants to share their opinion. Sometimes it's okay to not have an opinion about something and just not say anything. If someone were to ask me, CJ, what do you think about that? I'm like, it's okay.
Does that ever?
But it makes people feel weird when you just don't talk. It's like, dude, I don't need to talk all the time. If words are a weapon, I don't need to use my weapon all the time. It's like,
There you go. Well, okay. Yeah, words can be a weapon. They're
you-
not-
you-
they are
in the
weapons,
sense of
yeah,
like,
yeah.
if we're having a conversation, me being a nice person, Phil, CJ, Phil, CJ. That's the normal rhythm of a conversation.
It's a tennis
right?
match. Bing,
It's
pow,
like, and
back,
it's respectful
forward, back, yeah.
for you to be like, I'm listening to you. I hear you. Cool. Now it's my turn.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
You know,
It's-
do you think that? So we were before we came in here to this illustrious studio here. We were talking a little bit about how the next generation is basically fucked.
There's oh my God, they're gonna man. We're raising
And that's
up
my son, and that's whoever's got little kids now.
any generation born from I would say 2005 to now, right?
Okay.
Or even I would even say 2003,
Yeah.
because that's like the first time I got a cell phone. So when I was 18. Children, I see it. I see all my.
cell phones. You think it's smartphones?
I
I
think it's double. I think it's the rapid progression of technology. I love technology.
Mhm.
I love human innovation.
Mhm.
I think it's beautiful,
agree.
right? But human beings and technology, one is proceeding so fast. Our bodies and our minds and our nervous system, we are not catching up.
It's not emotionally equipped
to
deal
handle
with
that
the bullshit that gets flung in our
and
faces.
that much stimulus. And it's I see it. I'm gonna explain what I'm talking about, but I see it in children now because I have siblings. They all are married with kids.
Mhm.
7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds. Their attention span when we were 7, 8, 9, we were forced to be social, play with other
Forced to
kids.
interact.
Yeah, and
Forced to develop those skills.
and forced to be a human being. Where if two little children, 8, whatever, two little 7-year-olds are around each other, regardless of race, ethnicity, whatever, they're gonna start playing together. They're gonna start talking until they learn, like, okay, this is how men react. This is how women react. This is how this is how we do this. But you're a child. Go play. Go be a little animal. Climb up on stuff. Break things. Touch it. Figure it out. But now, because we have the digital babies, so we're in the phone. I see kids now. I've seen so many examples of children when they meet other kids nowadays, they're very quiet, super reserved. They don't even do that. They don't even introduce themselves. And I go, hold on. You're 7. At 7 years old, I was a maniac.
You almost died once already.
But like before that, I was climbing on trees. Yeah. I was making up games to play with my siblings.
Ride bikes until you see another little dude on a bike.
And then you're like, let's race.
What's up? Nice bike. Let's go.
Or, or anything. Or you even see 2 little girls in there playing and they're doing, and you're like, okay.
Guys making mud pies? I want to make some sticks and mud.
Exactly.
Mix it up.
But now, and you see it where, like, dude, by the time your son's generation is our age, social norms and social skills, they're going to be very different.
Yeah.
And I think for the bad. Like, not in the good.
Well, I think it's going to be harder for us as adults, as parent figures, because you have a lot of. Well, you don't have any kids of your own,
yeah,
right?
No kids of my own. But I'm around children, like nieces, nephews,
godchildren. You've got all sorts of. You're very close with the rest of your family,
yeah.
and you're able to
see them and interact.
Well, you're able to influence them, right? And if you have that extended kind of nuclear family in whatever shape or form it is, then it falls on the parent figures to make sure those kids, it's like, hey, not say like, hey, it's it's gonna be harder for you than it was for me because of this drug that is infinite, the access to infinite information,
infinite entertainment, and it's a constant barrage of you want this, or you too, or and again, I am not hating on technology. I love technology, but I draw a fine line of going like, okay, I'm at home, phone away, TV is off. Let me go read. Let me go for a run. Let me walk outside. Mm-hmm. Let me be an animal. Let me be human, because this is not human, right? Doing too much of this is we're hardwired to move. We're like bipedal, beautiful machines where we can climb and run and jump and swim and throw and flip and all this. It's like no other animal on the face of the planet can do what we do.
You know what really, really disgusts me, and we'll get back to positive. We'll get away from the negative stuff here. When people talk about binge watching shows like it's an accomplishment,
that is
like they're like, I finally got through this marathon of Mayor of Eastwood, Easttown, or like all of Breaking Bad. And you're like, great, like I went and hiked up this mountain. Like you're literally dumber because of that. Like, I mean, if you're an adult, that's fine. But if you're a kid, or if you're anyone that should be in the earning part of their lives, the learning part of their lives,
do something.
Do something.
And I'm not saying someone can't do that, but then the downside is the downside, like obesity rates going up.
45% when we record this
exactly.
now, I think.
Metabolic disorder, pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes,
heart disease,
everything, and then people are worried about like COVID. It's like, guys,
that
is COVID is a slow pandemic on top. There's a fast pandemic on top of a slow pandemic of everything else that's going wrong, and a lot of that could be fixed. Because one of my degrees is in nutrition. A lot of that could be fixed just through movement. Just not saying you got to go to the gym and pick up 300 pounds. You got to run 10 miles a day. No.
Just squat.
Just
stand
move.
Up.
Hey, I'm gonna go walk. I'm gonna do a yoga class. I'm gonna cycle with my kids. I'm gonna go on a hike with my wife.
Walk around the block. For some people, that is it becomes mentally so much of a challenge because of this cocoon of warm, soupy, fuzzy comfort that we surround ourselves with. And like, I could do my whole job from my smartphone. Yeah, I could do that. But a lot of people could too. I absolutely refuse to do that because my body starts hurting. In fact, let's stand up because oh man,
everything gets rigid and locked and just like tight,
Oh, there we go.
But this is what I've seen, and even as a kid, I saw this. I was like, the people who tend to be the most unhappy on average. Obviously, there's stuff that goes through like mental disorder and. A whole lot of other clinical aspects. Yes, there is genetic component, environmental component, but a lot of people, especially me being a trainer, being a massage therapist, a lot of people I see who are really unhappy, they don't move enough. So I'm like, obviously it's a multifaceted problem.
It's never simple.
But one of the major things is, hey, if you just started moving Go to a dance class. Walk. That's going to make you just feel better and go, your body, we were saying earlier, your body is hardwired to move. The human animal, we've been on this planet for millions of years. Our ancestors constantly were moving, climbing trees, squatting, walking,
now we don't
running.
Have to.
But it's like we still have that hardware. Our genetics from 300,000 years ago to now has not changed not
that much. No.
Nudged. That means our body, like this instrument that I have now, if I were to go back 300,000 years, I should be able to survive. Squat, pick something up, hunt, kill, cook, climb a tree. Like that's what we were. That's what we're designed. We are animals. We're just like the smartest animal on the planet. But like, look what happens when you put a dog in a house and don't get it moved. It gets sad. It gets weak. It gets fat.
Yeah.
That happens to us. But people go, oh well, no. The
reason is
when you're gonna go. When you're gonna go on your Netflix.
A few pills to fix that.
When you're gonna go on your Netflix binge, why don't you do that after you go work out? Like, okay, go to work,
exhaust yourself,
go work out,
that Netflix,
and then go binge instead of like, oh man, I watched 2 seasons of this show. I'm like, so you wasted all that time.
Aren't you accomplished? Yeah.
When you could have done yoga. It blows my mind.
Here's the interesting thing, and then kind of getting back to our the
kid.
The kids thing is when you don't have to, like when you're in front of a screen, be it a laptop or a tablet or a phone, and you don't have to interact. Because what I see is kids and they're the joke is like the zombie apocalypse is coming. Like it's already here. Like because kids are down. My phone's somewhere, but they're down like this. And
digital zombie.
They get this text neck thing going. This kyphosis, this upper cross syndrome, and they're like teenagers, and
they already have the spine of old men.
Exactly.
And you're like, what?
So the physical of it is you've got this physical unnatural curvature of the spine, but also you're missing all of the world. Like we evolved to look up and hunt and
head on an axis, move
head
around,
on a swivel,
okay.
and if I am little Timmy P, whatever texter, and the prettiest girl, and Aisha comes up to me and she's like, hey, what's going on? I don't have the skill. Now there's one thing to be
you don't have the skill.
Difference to be like, hey, super nervous, like that's how it's supposed to be. But to just be like, you don't
even have that opportunity.
Borrow your phone real quick.
You don't even have that opportunity presented to you because you miss it.
That I hate when people are like, yeah,
dude,
oh sweet. I just want to I have a good friend of mine.
Insane.
I will not name because he might watch this, but
I take the phone out of their hand.
No,
seriously.
I'm like, put your phone down,
no, dude.
We're right here now.
To my nieces, my clients, even my friends, if I'm talking to you and you're, I literally will take the phone out of your hand and go, pay attention.
Yeah.
I know you're an adult.
I'll be here when you're done.
I'll be like, I know you're an adult.
Right.
Is the text message that important? And they go, oh, if it's important, by all means.
Right. Is your
send
dog
the text message.
dying?
If it has to do with work, your family, do your thing.
Yeah.
But if we're just hanging out and you're doing this more than this, I'm like, that is disrespectful.
It is. I agree.
And it's 100%. One of the things about now when I see kids growing up now,
it's just normal.
They don't even have the social development to know what's respect, right? Like obviously, people are taught social norms by your parents, society, yada yada. But just to be here, present with you, going, hey Phil, I'm listening to what you're saying. You're listening to me. And this is a conversation. This is how I show you I'm respecting you because I'm not like, what? All right, cool. Give me 1 second.
Cool. Just because I'm reading this book doesn't mean I don't want to talk to you.
It drives me insane, and I think that's only going to get worse because in today's society, you can do everything from your phone outside of work. You can get food, groceries, you can pay your bills, you can work, you can get your laundry done, you can have someone come over and clean your
apartment. Car to take you somewhere else.
You can have someone come over and clean your apartment. You never have, if you wanted to, in some career fields, I never have to interact with another human being in person.
And they're the loneliest people.
That to me, that blows my mind. Like, you couldn't survive 200 years ago not interacting with another human being.
could-
Not
so
even
you could
70
not
years
even
ago.
2 years. No, yeah, I take it up to 50.
So now, literally, if I didn't want to talk to anyone, you have that option. What does that do for you emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
physically,
Mm-hmm.
spiritually, right? Like, if we are meant to be with, because human beings are social creatures,
Right.
If we are meant to be amongst other human beings, obviously you need time to yourself and you need personal time.
Mhm.
And even though you might love your wife and kid and whoever,
Sure.
you still need your
You have to recharge. We're
deal with
batteries.
your own
Yeah,
thoughts
yeah.
and then come back to the collective,
Mhm.
right? If you never get to come to the collective and have someone feel that touch and have someone around you, that is a sign. That's a mental disorder to me. Something's wrong with your brain to where if you like doing that all the time, there's something's going on.
Yeah.
That's not good, you know.
So I don't know if I agree with that 100% because it is just like any other drug that numbs,
Yeah.
like alcohol or depressant
Yeah.
alcohol or like weed, or I mean it's not whatever. There's some that are socially acceptable,
Yeah.
some that aren't. But any kind of I'll
Like the
rephrase
escape mechanisms for
exactly
people.
any kind of chemical that alters your brain's natural state.
Yeah.
When you're watching TV, I'm sorry, when you have a screen in front of you, your brain goes into, unless you're doing deep work,
Yeah.
if you're scrolling, swiping, your brain goes into a dreamlike state, and you are not thinking. I don't know. So in my past, I've had some really really fucking depressing moments. That I won't get into the stories of them now,
Yeah.
but the point is like when I didn't know what to do, when I didn't want to think, I want to escape. I want to
You
turn
would
my
numb
brain
it
off.
out and just
I want to
drift away.
Netflix and chill.
Yeah.
I want to just watch, and I still, I'm like, I can't think anymore. I want to watch a show, but it's very deliberate.
Yeah.
It's a very like
you choose when to turn it off and go, you know what? I need to watch something stupid, turn my brain off for like an hour or two. Okay, now reconnect.
Exactly. So it's a tool,
Yeah.
but I think that people retreat to it because you go towards what's comfortable,
Yeah.
right? And if you don't have the discipline that you learn from martial arts, that I learned from whatever
But the key word you said though is you said tool.
Right.
Tools are meant to be used in specific occasions, right? Like the cell phone, the computer, the TV. It's a tool for or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then you wouldn't use a fork for every single meal,
Right.
because even though a fork is a tool, it's a terrible tool if you're trying to eat soup.
Right. Well,
You see what I'm saying? It's like, okay, when can I use this tool? When do I numb it out?
And how often should I use it?
Exactly,
How often?
right? And so when you said tool, it's like, yeah, but people are like, it's just my way of life. That is not your way of
You know what
life.
else I hate? It makes me happy. But it makes me happy. Like, you need a little bit of sorrow in your life because too much of anything is bad.
Like, if that makes you happy, and I'm not judging these people, live your life, do whatever you want.
Sure.
But if doing that, not being alive, like, if that makes you happy, your life is out there. Like, I tell people, your life
What do
is...
you mean? Wait,
In the sense of your life is amongst other people out in the world.
So their definition of my life on
Because I've had...
on the gram or my life
Yeah.
on... Like my what is the word? My personality that is...
Your persona.
My persona
Yeah.
that is more existent in the digital realm than it is in the real world. If that has become your reality...
Or your mode of happiness.
Or your mode of happiness,
I
then
was like,
perhaps the definition maybe is not an accurate one. It's not the best one.
Yeah, and I've seen it amongst my friends, family members, even significant others, and I go, that... And I'm trying to have an objective conversation. I go, and I'm not going like, that's stupid.
Yeah,
I just go.
I mean, people can choose their own path, but
Exactly.
sometimes people also need teachers.
And I go,
and people don't seek that out.
But I'm like, if that is your life, if that truly makes you happy, when did you learn this definition of happiness? Because I get it. I know the temptation is rich, because if I go on Instagram and I post a photo of me on a vacation and I'm dressed nice, looking cool on the beach.
You dress nicer than this?
Yeah, but
how do you dress nicer than this?
But you know what I mean, right? Like there's some people who will go on a vacation.
Yeah.
Just for the social media posts. Dude, I have.
No,
oh
I
my
believe
God,
you.
I've
I
seen it.
know.
And on social media. But
I
I
know
know
they rent jets out so that people can take pictures.
I know. And I know some of these people who I see them make the social media post, right? But I know who they really are. I know what their life really entails.
Yes.
That's two completely different people.
It's alarming.
But when they get the likes and they get the rush of
Dopamine.
people think that's me and I'm cool. I'm like, no, you can be that cool. Just
Relax.
create that.
Yeah.
Like instead of fake, because to fake it or to escape away or
Here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Why is, and I know we're going all over the place, but
Yeah.
fuck it, who cares? This is an interesting conversation. Why is this not generation, but why are people so obsessed with showing that they're wealthy, faking like they're really wealthy and successful? Like
because
why is that?
This is just my answer.
In your opinion, this is the safe house of opinions.
I think it's because when people realize how deep the struggle goes to get a degree, make a lot of money, buy your dream house, meet the love of your life, none of that is easy. None of that is easy.
Agreed.
Making a marriage work, even if this is your soulmate,
Yeah.
it is not easy.
It's a job.
If you have your dream job, you created your business from scratch, and 20 years from now you're going to be a billionaire.
Mhm.
That is years, decades of some hard fucking work, right?
Mhm.
And everything I've had, because I go from my personal experience, right? Everything I've had in my life, not one time, and I'm like, oh, that was pretty easy. Never. It's always been a struggle. Like, life to me is like, you find moments of beauty in the struggle, in the suffering of it, right? Not, you can pick your suffering, and I say suffering, but you know what I mean. There's a resistance.
Mhm.
And when things come too easy, like when, I want that, and think of if me and you were playing a video game, and we got to the final stage of the video game, and the final boss was super easy, you'd be like, that was whatever. When are you the most engaged? When are you the most alive? When the game is hard, you have to work for every inch, every scrap. When do you feel the most accomplished? You're dead tired. You're like, oh, dude, I busted my ass to get this degree. If you meet your soulmate and, oh yeah, I met her, asked her out, and things been well ever since. You're like, no. There was another guy trying to ask her out. She went out with me. I had to be charming, had to be funny, show her that. You have to work to charm that, seduce that person.
Yeah.
And I feel because I'm going to relate it back to, I think because human beings we're an animal as well, because we come from the natural way, we want to distance ourselves from that. 99% of our history has been based on struggle. It's been hard for ancient humans.
Sure.
It's been hard for us to get safe water to drink, food, build a shelter, protect your family.
Get your head squished by a rock.
Like every single part of our life, for most of human history, has been struggle. And now, within the last, let's just say 100 years, right? Hey, let's reduce 80% of the struggle.
Yeah.
Now you only have to worry about making money and food.
Yeah.
We don't really have to worry about diseases anymore.
Uh-huh.
Medical. We don't have to worry about transportation or wild animals trying to kill us.
Right.
We're good. So you take an animal that's used to constant struggle, constant resistance. What happens to your muscles when you don't give them resistance? They atrophy.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like as a society, even as a civilization, human beings, especially first world nations, we've emotionally and spiritually and physically atrophied because over the last, I think it's a couple thousand years, our bones have been getting smaller and smaller. Our brains have actually been shrinking size since the age of
the age of when?
The Industrial Revolution. Our
okay, that's very recent. Okay,
our brains have slowly started to they're actually getting smaller.
Now is this because we are?
Well, there's multiple factors. There's like xenotoxins in the water, the air,
right.
lack of activity, a lot more EMF radiation. It's multiple.
What
things.
about the just basic principle of reversibility?
Yeah, it's just like
you don't use it, you lose it.
We're not using our brains nearly to the same capacity we were before because we were always thinking, okay, if me and you are in the same tribe and we have the women back protecting the kids and keeping the village safe, Phil, what do we have to do? Me and you, we got to run out 10 miles, hunt down this deer.
Yeah.
Then we gotta bring the deer back. We gotta gut it. We gotta make sure as we're hunting this
The
deer,
actual work.
a bear doesn't come kill us.
Mhm.
Well, we can't roll our ankle or get injured, because then now I gotta worry about getting food and bringing you back to the village.
Yeah.
It's like our brain, our capacity for critical thinking is, I feel like, it's slowly, like, we're atrophying.
It's regressing.
As a human being, like, think about it. Dogs were once wolves.
Yeah. Yes.
That blows my mind. We were, and you think of our ancient
We were
ancestors
once
as like
apes, like just massively
strong,
a chimpanzee could tear your arm just
strong, durable. Like you compare.
Well, you got to trade some of it. Like you
no,
gotta
you can't have both. You can't have both. You can't have both.
But I think that the balance was like maybe like in the 80s.
But we went from one extreme to like now
Yeah.
we're at the you've seen the movie WALL-E, right?
Yeah.
Where human beings we've been in space for so long, and then what happens?
The little fat chairs. Blah, 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 blah.
It's happening
It's
now.
happening. Like Pixar knows their shit.
It's
man.
happened. Like
Yeah.
literally, WALL-E was like a gross exaggeration, but like look
Or,
at
Idiocracy is another less entertaining example.
But look
of
at-
stupid humans in the future.
Look at all of quarantine, COVID, right? What were most people doing?
Sit on their asses.
Lack
getting
of
fired.
activity,
Yeah.
eating shitty food,
Drinking.
But it was like, now, go panoramic with that, right?
Mhm.
100 years from now, imagine what technology will be like in 2121.
Really, really hope that we. So first of all, I hope that social
At the rate
media-
we're at the rate
it's
we're
not
going
going to
at.
be good. I can tell you that. I don't know what's going to happen.
Oh
I'm not
my
going to be able to
God.
see it, but it's not going to be good. I can only hope that social media, and I think social media in all of its power has a lot to do with the kind of the numbing effect
Yeah.
towards feelings and the dumbing effect towards critical thinking.
Because now everything's fast, 30 seconds.
And
Yeah.
people are, you can't tell a joke online without being called. I was
Oh my
called.
God. Dude, don't even get me started on how PC.
I had. This is what we can shift over to the really juicy race
Yeah.
topic. Some like
political correctness is killing me.
PCs. It's absolutely. If you've never had any, and I don't want to marginalize anyone, but
Yeah.
if you've never had any real problems in your life, like
Then you look for problems.
Then you look for problems to solve. Like for instance, I put something out last week. It was just a story. It was a repeat from a Pew Research poll that said 5 reasons. It was on the 4th of July. It said 5 reasons that America's great, and the first one was due to this was Pew Research.
Yeah.
I just read it real quick. I was like, hey, this seems kind of cool. I'll post it up.
I'm a big patriot, so we're good.
Didn't think too much about it, and it said according to this survey, America is one of the most tolerant countries in the world, culturally tolerant. And I was kind of like, well, I agree with that statement, so post.
Yeah.
And then another one said something about poor people, like the level of poverty. Excuse me.
Is way less here than in other
Is way less
countries.
here than it is in other countries.
I've been through it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and the other one was we've settled our fair share, and I use that word specifically, fair share of immigrants since 1986, which is like 3 million, and comparing that to our percentage of the world population, which is around 4%. And I wasn't thinking that was a very like politically correct thing. I don't know. I was just like, fuck yeah, America, it's a birthday. And I got lit up. There was some social justice warriors. I'll go ahead and just call them that. They got on my thread and they messaged me privately and they were like, hey, it was a white person also. And by the way, I'm sitting at a table with 2 other black friends, my Filipino wife, my halfling son, and a Mexican, and another white chick. And I'm looking around, I'm like, what? This chick's calling me a racist?
Like
huh?
What?
And so she's like, what did she say? She's
in
like, hey,
what?
the language here would suggest that this is first thing she threw an insult and said like, you're baseless and incorrect, and these are uninformed, and it was very well thought out. I'm sorry, very direct, poignant language. And I was like, buzzword for the PC crowd, buzzword. And she's like, this would suggest that you're not an ally in our struggle, and by the way, that people of color brought this to my attention, so I feel that I have a duty to bring it to your attention. And I'm like,
But
and I saw, and there's not that many people that see my story.
And you're
I was
like,
well, here's like 6 of my black friends. They didn't say anything to me, and like here's the common friend. And I'm like, huh, okay. Like, why didn't you reach out to me if you had a problem? Like, I'm happy to talk about this.
but then you're like, wait, but nothing I said was remotely racist.
Well, I was just trying to find out. Like, I mean, there were drawn inferences. It was my. I don't want to stay on this too long.
No. But
I was shocked. I was just like, it was my first time dealing with kind of an SJW, and I was like, okay, like you're crafting your language and inferring points that cannot be debated, and anything that is slightly of a differing opinion is either labeled as it's marginalized or labeled as neo-racism. Like, what the fuck does neo-racism even mean? So
what?
Anyway, like I sit around, I called another mutual friend of ours, and I'm like, hey man, is this a black friend of mine, best man at my wedding? I'm like, is this racist? Like, can you educate me here?
Yeah.
He's like, man, get the fuck out of here with that. Like, what is this? And I'm like, I know. Like, should I be worried about this?
Like, so on that point, like, it's having been on both, like, military and obviously I'm black. People, when they try to, I had someone who didn't want to call me black because they thought they would go out of their way to be like, oh, as an African American, and I literally said,
as the guy he's not white, he's more of a
no, but I literally told them, I was just like, you can call me black, it's cool, and they were like, well, no, it's like, how is that? That is not an insult to me.
Yeah,
I will call myself that, but it's like, you're going so far around what you think may be a perceived insult,
right?
But it's like, that is not an insult. Like,
you think that, like, the
and sorry. This is the easiest way to figure this out, right? If someone was racist, sexist, homophobic, trans, whatever, they wouldn't associate themselves with those people, so you can figure it out pretty quick. If you're having a conversation with me, or you're around my immediate vicinity in a social setting or a professional setting, I'm gonna assume you're not racist because you're willing to treat me like a human being.
Right.
Take everything else away, right? Like, this is what kills me about the piece of social justice warriors. They're trying to define all these categories of humans in their own thing. This person is trans, this person is black, this person's Asian, gay, whatever.
Something in between.
Pick a label. Right. And I'm like, okay, cool. Fuck all your labels. This person is human.
There you go.
This is a human. This is a black human. This is a female human. That's it. That's all you need to do. Regardless of how you classify female, whether it's biological, whatever.
Or used to be male and is now like, who cares? Like,
I'll call you whatever you want.
You've probably never been tried to murdered before. Like,
exactly.
No one's ever tried to kill you. It feels like you're really inventing problems.
And it's like, you don't need...
Not that there aren't struggles. Like,
no.
There definitely are.
There are struggles, but it's like, don't go out of your way to exemplify the problem. We already know what the problem is. I hate when people talk about problems in general. Is like, if I had an issue in my life, regardless of what it is, and I say, hey, Phil, when we meet, I bring up the problem. Next time we meet, I bring up the problem. Next time I bring up the problem. Eventually, as my friend, you should be like, dude, solve the problem.
Yeah.
Stop talking about the issue.
Let me help you solve the problem.
And this is what I see a lot with social justice warriors, and especially in the black community. We talk about the problem all the time. We know what it is. We all know what the problems are, right? Let's start giving some solutions. Because if I had a friend who's talking about their problem, if they were, pick one, if they were Jewish and they were talking about anti-Semitic stuff, and every time I saw them, they always brought it up, I'd be like, my man, I know you're going through an issue. Can we try to find some solutions here? Because you just regurgitating the problem, like, from civil rights, from the 50s, from the 30s, yes, I'm going to use myself because I'm a member of the black community, right? Black people have been talking about the same problems, same issues for forever. I know that. And I've had these conversations with family members and friends. Let's find some solutions to the problem because we already know what it is. And I feel like their heart's in the right place, but the execution I think is terrible.
I agree with you 100%.
Of course, everyone wants to be
the heart's in the right place.
Their heart, they are good people, but it's like if you're saying, "Hey, Phil, there's a hole in your roof. There's a hole in your roof.
There's a hole in your roof."
Unfortunately,
Unfortunately, it's not that simple. Obviously,
but if I relate it to that, it's like, okay, how do we fix the hole?
Right.
We already know it's there. You know it's there.
Yeah.
I know it's there. You as a white guy, me as a black guy, gay man, whoever. We know. Okay, there's a problem right there. There's a problem right there. All right, can we nail some solutions now?
So
can we throw some things out?
I think that like you know where we've just taken the conversation is gonna touch on like
a lot. It's a lot.
But like people that are people that are watching, some might be really really offended by it. And they might be like,
and that's okay.
Well, here's like we've been trying these solutions, and we've got it's police reform, it's tax reform, it's like getting guns out of these people's hands, better training here. Da, da, da. I would submit this is the solution.
Yeah,
right here.
Just
one drop in the bucket, one at a time,
and everything.
Multitudes of drops
time
creates an ocean.
People expect change to happen.
Right.
Oh, tomorrow. Everyone's going to be equal and the same. You got guys. It took us hundreds of years to get into this situation.
There has been progress.
Maybe
maybe I don't have a right to say that.
No.
I feel like you have.
There's been immense amount of progress from the civil rights movement to now. I would not want to be a black person in 1940, 1930, 1950,
1970. I don't think so.
But me being a black person now, I am not saying there's not issues. But compared to what my grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents went through, I cannot complain.
Yeah.
I just shut up. Because it's like, dude, people before, if you were gay before, trans before, whatever, it was way worse back in the day. It's getting better, and I love the fact that it's getting better. But it took us, our country's been around for almost 400 years, right? If not a little.
Well, yes. It's been...
In its current
years. Yeah.
Okay, so given its current state, it's taken us hundreds of years to get to this level. You don't think it'll take hundreds of more years to... Literally, 60 years ago, you couldn't marry your wife. 60 years ago. You know someone who's 60 years old.
Yeah.
Like, you're in an interracial marriage. That was illegal 60 years ago. So, like, my guys, give it time.
Yeah.
Like, it's only been 60 to 70 years where... people of different ethnicities can get married. Gay people. It's only been 10 years that gay people can get married. Like
something like that. And it's still illegal in other states.
And you just like it will get better if we keep fighting it. But it's like on a base level, it's like just treat other human beings, regardless of whatever they call themselves or what they look like. Treat other human beings like human beings. That's the basis, and then we go from there.
Yeah, I agree.
But I know this conversation gets super deep.
It
and
does.
Some people are going to get triggered, but
it's
like,
fine. Triggers.
Hey, I'm not trying to trigger anyone. I'm just going, regardless of whatever type of human you are, I will do my best to treat you with dignity, respect. I was willing to risk my life to die for my fellow human beings of this country. Yeah, because some other countries are.
Wait, the same God as me?
Yeah, some other countries are a little weird, man.
I think what's really refreshing is that. I'm from Memphis, right, deep south, right. There's a lot of.
But you're Jewish, right?
Half of me is Jewish.
Okay.
So and even the Jews don't count that because my mother's not Jewish. But
it's on the mother's side.
It's always that
whatever. Genetically, you're half Jewish. But we go with genetics. We don't go with culture.
But being from a heavily,
southern,
heavy southern. Yeah, actually, 65% of Memphis is black. So it was kind of like
I know.
You had these stupid bigots that are like, South will rise again and da da da. And you're like
you do know you
really?
guys lost the war.
You realize the Confederacy was like a 4-year thing. Like that's like one presidency.
And be you lost.
And you lost, and like coming and hearing people say just dumb shit like that, and then going. I actually was in Memphis a few weeks ago, and then seeing like the gentrification, like people who talk like that aren't welcome in the cool parts of town. And when I say cool parts, like you walk into a into like a hotel lobby bar or something, and there's people kind of like studying. There was a woman in a not a full burqa, but a headscarf. You can tell she was a Muslim woman. And then there's like just people of all sorts of shapes, colors, sizes, and whatever. And the vibe.
What America is everyone.
Exactly.
It's everybody.
Yeah, the whole
so it should be everyone.
Exactly. You can tell we didn't, the specific place I'm speaking about. When I was little, you didn't go in that part of town. Like you didn't. I mean, granted, there's still some dangerous parts of Memphis, but you can see that it's getting better, and that people, if somebody was like, South rise again, like even representing, some of what our last administration represented, which was basically just like, I believe, like old scared white establishment who felt like they weren't being heard anymore and losing power. If they came in and started like preaching some of that bullshit, it would be very evident that wasn't welcome. Yeah. And it was so, it really lifted my heart because you could see that the change was happening. The shift was happening. As it when like this drop in the bucket right now. Like it's just like, hey, you want to hang out on a Sunday and record a conversation? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can cook some steaks after this and just blah 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 blah.
I like what you said though, where people, because a lot of my close friends are straight white males, right? And having spoken to their fathers and having been in the military and having some of my commanding officers be older white guys, I do feel, because people vilify it, like when they look at the villain, right?
Yes.
I don't agree to this, but it's usually older white guy, right? But you said the key word, scared. Like they're coming from a place of fear, and it's like, what happens when you corner any animal and you scare it?
It rears back up.
It will just will lash out, right? And I feel like in order for us as a whole, obviously the country is structured in a certain way, which has been based on history, but I feel like, and this is just my own personal, what I'm gonna say.
Sure.
I feel like white men, older white men especially, are victims of their history as much as like black people are with slavery and stuff.
Really?
In the sense of not physically, because obviously being black, like we've been marginalized in certain parts of town and schools and healthcare and access to education and stuff like that. So we've gotten like emotional, physical trauma, like almost PTSD from slavery and a whole lot of other things, right? And women have gotten it too, because obviously they've been marginalized as well. But I feel like on a mental, and I've had this conversation with some of my friends, on an emotional level, I feel like white men have gotten some emotional abuse as well. Because imagine if every day, you're a white man, every day, even since you were a little boy, you're the bad guy. You're the villain. All my problems are because of you, right? No, don't get me wrong. Again, this is just my own theory.
I see where you're coming from.
Because
go ahead.
I was trying to relate it to, if I was white and a man, and I was in my 60s, and I would just hear that over and over, right? In certain contexts, like based on what my ancestors did.
I don't think so. I think there's a different kind of mental condition.
Yeah. And I feel like
I think the white villain thing is pretty recent.
Yeah.
Because white guys have been in control of things for so long.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're not going to be like, hey, I'm a villain. Hey, you a villain? I'm a villain too.
Yeah.
I think that it is an ignorance that has been fed. That go back to my hometown of like just ignorant white people, and you're thinking like, well, my daddy said this, and my daddy's never wrong because he's my daddy, and his granddaddy told me that, and that, and when we're talking like, like subservience or like ignorance or like that basically, I mean, look what Hitler tried to do. He was like, well, the white people are the superior race. It's like, yeah, you guys didn't do so well in the Olympics. Like, so if you're constantly fed that shit,
like you're superior, like, you're better, you're better.
Yeah, or this race is dumb, or this race can't figure out how to, fucking trim a bonds or whatever.
But I feel like it robs.
If you don't have the exposure to another, here's the what I guess white guys have been missing out on is like, if you don't have in in very enclosed. If you don't have any other races in your town, and you're just like, oh well, if I'm surrounded by just white folks who have their own beliefs, then I don't have any exposure to anything else. And if something new comes in that looks different, that believes something different, that comes in, what's our first, you go down back to our lizard brain, our first thing to assume is threat.
Yeah, you're
threat,
fearful because you don't understand what that is.
Exactly.
And
so if you don't have that exposure, then it's you have to kind of pity these people that are like, it's like, hey man, you're from an old guard and you guys are dying out.
And fear is one of those things where I was in fear, grew up in fear, right? And it does something to you where it's a level of trauma to where, like, when you're fearful of stuff, like, or of change or anything, of your environment, or, oh, those people are different, those people are, what are they doing over there? It's not a good feeling. It's a really not, and you only fear things you do not understand. So it's like
say that again, please.
You only fear things you don't understand, right? Like, if I understand who you are, where'd you grow up, I know your family, I'm not gonna be afraid of you. But if I never met you and you never knew me, and you see me in a dark alley, or you just see me and I'm walking past, you might be like, okay, I don't know that dude. I might have my guard up, but you're like, oh yeah. So it's. I feel in order for it to change, people just have to come to a base understanding of, like, guys, we're all human and we're all we all have the same end goal. Everyone, I really feel 99.9% of people, I feel like the end goal is you want to be happy, you want to be financially secure, you want to be surrounded by your loved ones, whatever that constitutes, and you want to be safe, right? There is not one person on the planet who does not want that. In the sense, like, white, black, whatever.
I would argue that you could boil all that down to happiness,
Yeah.
Like,
you just
safety,
want to be like,
happiness.
Hey, my friends and family are cool.
Happiness.
I have enough money to survive and be comfortable. I'm healthy. I think I'm good. I think I'm okay. Who doesn't want, like,
what's your definition of happiness?
If I were to talk to a racist, someone who really hated black people, I'd be like, what do you think I want? Like, if you just, what do you want? And they tell me what they want. I'm like, I want the same thing. I want the exact same thing you want. How can we not relate to each other when we bleed the same blood, we want the same thing, we just look a little different?
And that goes back to your conditioning. One's conditioning. Well, my daddy said, my mama said. It's like, okay, well.
Daddy's never been wrong. No one in your family has ever been wrong about anything. Ever.
Those are the challenging questions when people put walls up. They're like, well, we're not even talking about my daddy. So.
Like, my parents, I have a foster mom, biological mom, foster dad, biological dad. My parents are wrong all the time. All the time. And even as a kid, I think growing up in that situation, you have to show your children early, you're human too. Because if you let your kids believe you're infallible, that gives them such a false perception of when they go into the world and they go, oh, some people are great. And then, some people suck. Yeah. Like, some people are not cool. But it's okay. They're still people. Let them live their life. Stay away from me. But it's okay to not be, and my parents showed me, like, major flaws, major vices from the jump.
Did they show you, did you discover it? Or were they like, guess what? I like to.
My mom told me, my biological mom, she would smoke cigarettes, right? And she would literally be like, don't ever do this. This is not good for you. Don't you ever smoke. If I catch you smoking, I'll beat the shit out of you. Right? At 11, she's telling me this.
Didn't it make you want to smoke more, though?
But in my head, I'm just like, but why are you doing it?
Yeah.
If you know, and she was just like, it's bad and it's stupid, so you never do it. And in a weird way, I never smoked a cigarette in my life.
That is weird.
It never, because if your parent is telling you, hey, I know I'm doing something stupid and something bad, and I don't want you to do it.
Yeah.
It kind of hit home a little bit harder, like, damn, my parents are just regular fucking people. Mm-hmm. Like, they're special to me because they're my parents, but my dad that was the fighter, military, he's almost too rigid, right? Like, sometimes he was a little
That's the Marines in it for you, man.
But
my stepdad was in the Army. I know how that is. But like, hey, buddy, do you love me?
But he even told me himself. He said that he's like, I know sometimes I could be a little hard on you guys.
Oh, there you go.
And he's like, I I really love you, and sometimes it's hard for me to.
That's perfect.
But
That's all you need.
But this was years later. But no, and I knew why he was doing what he was doing and why he was saying what he was saying.
Yeah.
But he was like, it's hard for me to, and he would say, it's like, it's hard for me to be like soft and shit. He just meant emotional, a little bit more feminine. He's like, it's hard for me to be soft and shit, but you know, I know, you guys know where I'm coming from, right? And we're like, yeah, Dad, we get it. Like, I know why as a little boy, I lost a fight. I got into a schoolyard fight at 11. Kid was like 15, beat the shit out of me, right? Yeah. So I come home all bloodied up, all that, and my dad looks at me and was just like, what happened? Got into a fight. Kid was, 11-year-old to a 15-year-old. It was a huge difference.
Big difference.
Kid whooped my ass, and my dad was like, all right, go back tomorrow, fight him again. Went back to he didn't play it. Went back the next day, fought the kid again. He beat me worse the second time than he did the first time.
Every time to heal up.
Yeah, I came home again, and my dad was like, hey, I knew you were going to lose. You got to let that kid know you ain't no bitch, all right? But I knew why he did it. Yeah. Because if I had been like, oh, whatever, my dad was like, no. He loved me so much that he was like, life sometimes is going to beat the living shit out. Heartbreak, divorce, cheat, debt, someone dies, something happens, someone steal money from you, bad business deal. Something will happen that's going to, a friend betray you, or something will happen that hurts. But he was like, it's okay. You take it and you just keep going, even though it hurts. So what? It's gonna happen, right? Yeah. Feel the hurt and keep going, because eventually, if you keep going, it won't hurt as bad. That's what he was trying to do in his whole, show my son no emotion type of way, which I get now as a grown man, and even as a kid, I knew that's what he was doing, because obviously he cared for me. He like helped me. He put, like the balm and the stuff to help my cuts, and he put the band. So I'm like, if he didn't love me, he wouldn't patch up my licks and bruises, right? But it was knowing that my parents were just normal people trying to figure it out, like we are trying to figure it out right now, made me go, it gave me a more objective perspective of reality, where they're going, my parents are perfect. They're never going to do anything wrong. No. Teach people, like, You get where I'm going. Sorry, I know I'm just listening. I know I'm all over the place, but it was fine. That made me have more of an appreciation for people. Going like, yeah, I don't expect you to be perfect. You're human. We're trying our best.
Yeah. Do you think it gave you more of a kind of tolerant aspect of people?
Because now
we're just basically.
Yeah. And growing up in San Francisco, super tolerant, because I had like transgender classmates, lesbian teachers, everything. Right. So I feel like what we were saying before,
more tolerant with like just ignorant people.
Yeah, because it's growing up here, like you were saying before, where someone's like, "Oh, you only grew up around what you grew up around," and yeah, you're ignorant. But I'm so lucky I grew up here, because I didn't even have the chance to be ignorant, because day one in school, right? Where I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago, everyone around me. There's family members, they look the same, everyone's black. Like, the first time I saw a white person is when I came here to America. Freaked me the fuck out. Not in a bad way, but I had never seen an Asian, Latino, Arabic, nothing. Everyone looked like me, everyone talked like me. But when you were saying, like, the guy from the South, like, my daddy told me this, my daddy told me, even though I never was around anybody else, because in a third world country we didn't have TV, any of that, right? The moment I saw a white person, I was so curious. It wasn't like, oh, they're inferior to me, and oh, that Asian, what's with their eyes, and why does this other person have red hair? Ew, that's gross. It was just like, why is your skin that color? Why are your eyes that color? Yeah. That's cool. What do you guys eat? I was so, and when first time I met an Asian, I was like, whoa, what are you eating? Oh, that's cool. Why do you speak like that? And it wasn't rude, or I was so like, what's your name? And they would tell me their last name, and I'm like, where's that from? China. Where's China? Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, what's Chinese food?
I think that's your naturally inquisitive mind there. But unfortunately, not everyone's that inquisitive.
But I think because I wasn't taught how to hate, it was just, and I've seen it before. It's a learned
behavior.
Because look at your son, right? When your son meets other little kids who are white, black, whatever, he's not like, let me stay away from you. He's probably be like, hey, what's up? Yeah. let's hang out.
Yeah.
And then he's like, hey, if he meets a little black boy, he's like, why is your skin so dark? And he'd be like, I don't know. Why your eyes look like that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, cool.
All right, cool. Let's go kick a ball.
And I experienced it when I went to Japan, when I was stationed there, and Thailand, and even some parts of Afghanistan. They had never seen a black person before. And
what was the reaction?
Positive. The little kids would come up to me and they would like touch my skin, and I would make a joke like, "Oh, it doesn't rub off." And I'm just like, "It's not dirt," and then they would laugh. And some of the adults, because they weren't taught like, "Oh, black people are like stupid or criminals," or none of that. They just never saw it, so they were like, people would come up to me like, "Oh, where are you from?" I'm like, "Well, I'm from America, California." I didn't want to go in detail because they don't know where the hell Trinidad is. And they were like, "Oh," then they would touch my hair and they'd be like, "Why is your hair like that?" I'm like, "I don't know. Why is your hair like that?" And they go, "My genetics, I guess." Like, whatever.
Want to get some food?
Even when I went to Thailand, same thing. They never seen it. I'm walking through, and everyone's like, "Cool. Yeah. Hey, man. Oh, that's awesome." So I feel like if it's not learned, because again, they see me and they know I'm a human being.
Right.
And they go, "Okay, he's human. He looks like me, but like, not really." Okay. So I feel like with that, I'm positive for the next generation that the more people, like your son's generation and further, they'll grow up with so much around them that racism will just be like an archaic thing. Like if someone's like, "Oh, I'm racist."
So here's the caveat to that. And this is why that's
my ideal.
No, I hope too. But here's the caveat to that: is that the poison that is social media, it creates an echo chamber. Right, so like
you're surrounded by like-minds
you get all the time. There's no conflicting, there's no conflicting points of view, and what has been lost, CJ, is the ability. Well, the conversation, yes, but the ability to disagree. And this is actually, I think it's seeped into just the social fabric. Also,
it's everywhere.
In the last administration,
and I'll still be cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, like it's fine.
It's like if I can't disagree. Let me back up. What's been lost is the ability to have alternating points of view, and still be allies. As I'll go back to my social justice friend. Like if you're like, I like steak, and I'm like, well, I don't like steak.
Like, I'm not gonna be
like, okay, whoa, you're an enemy. Like you're not an ally. But like I think it's like what makes this country great, what makes the world great is the cornucopia of cultures, of viewpoints, because everybody has a different upbringing, and I think that it's so important to be able to have alternate points of view and be able to get along, and that's what's lost with. Yes. That's the skill that I fear. I don't think it's been lost forever, but if someone's like, "You're wrong," delete, cancel, that doesn't help anything.
But that also comes out of just like baseline level of respect. Like I'm carnivore, I eat meat and organs. That's pretty much all I eat.
Cool.
I've had ex-girlfriends who have been full-blown vegans, and we've been together in a relationship for prolonged periods of time. Mm-hmm. Not once did we get into an argument about food. Which one's better? Which one's worse? There have been. I've known people who've broken up because I'm vegan and animals and whatever. Yeah, and dudes are like, or people who eat meat are just like, nope, like we're done. And my thing is like, because it's freedom of speech, right?
Sure.
You can, or freedom of idea. That's why I love this country, because of liberty. You can believe whatever you want. I could totally disagree with every single major facet of your belief system, and us still be friends.
Why
or
not?
Partners or whatever.
Why
because
not?
That has
let's make it work.
What you believe has no effect on my life, and vice versa.
Right.
I could believe there's dragons outside this door right now.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Well, that's a little far-fetched, but yes, I get you.
Whatever they want to believe, whatever
yeah.
religion, it's fine. It's like, guys, it's okay for us to have a different viewpoint, different beliefs, different politics. It's fine. As long as I respect you as a human, and you respect me, and you're not going to do anything to make my life more difficult and vice versa. But when someone's like, no, well, you're wrong. Okay.
Here's
I can be wrong. That's fine. And I'm allowed to be wrong. and so can you.
Yeah.
You can be wrong. You're allowed to be wrong.
Should we be ostracized because we're
It's
wrong?
fine.
Yeah.
Like, even if I think you are wrong on every single point, I'm just like, cool. You want to join my movement? No, I'm good.
No.
But we can still hang out and be friends.
And here's the rough part is if you don't join the movement, there's like, if you're not against us or not, if you're not with us, you're against us mentality. It's like, well, that's a little binary.
That mentality is of a person who's,
that's pretty like Sith. Like you're either
I feel like when people are like that
with us or you're with the terrorists.
I feel like their viewpoint is so narrow that they have some type of, not control mechanism, but they like they want to. You don't need to. Not everyone's your enemy. Not everyone's your friend. But if you're not my enemy and you're not my friend, that's fine.
You could just be.
You're just.
There's another option.
That's fine. It's not like, well, enemies are friends. It's like some people just don't even want to be near or around your circle of influence. They don't hate you. They want nothing but the best for you.
Yeah.
It's never so like, there's always a spectrum, right? Like, even in fitness and in yoga and in massage, it's like, well, this is the best massage technique.
Anytime someone says the best, red flag for me.
Dude, I've been saying that for years. When I'm
Red
like,
flag.
this is the best workout. This is the best piece of equipment.
What are you
this
selling?
is the best gun.
What
You're
are
just
you
like,
selling me?
you're just like, the best?
Yeah,
The best.
the best.
In all of history,
Really?
up until this point, or in all of history throughout, this is the best.
This is
So
it.
it's never gonna get any better. Okay, cool. When you use absolutes, that's when I'm like, do you know how fickle and complex this thing we call life is?
Yeah.
Nothing is ever, well, this is it, and this is the way it's going to be. Okay, even if you use a law, it's illegal to kill someone, right? It's illegal to kill someone.
Yeah,
right?
I'm pretty sure. Unless they're trying to kill you.
It's illegal. All right. Like we just said, it's illegal to murder someone unless they're trying to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What if they're trying to kill someone else down the street? So it's not you, but you see someone trying to kill someone else. Okay. Do you go, all right, well, I'm just going to, or are you going to, you see what I'm saying? It's like, there is no absolutes.
Right.
In the sense, it's like, if you paint the right picture, it's like, okay, this is,
I see what you're saying.
you know, like some things you could be like, well, this is absolute, you can't harm anyone. It's like, well, it depends.
Right. Talk to the Catholic Church about that. I think, historically speaking, they haven't had an issue with harming people.
And then
many other organizations.
And then
not
it's
just
like,
the
what's
Catholic
defined
Church.
as harm to one person?
Yeah.
One person could get harmed with words. One person get harmed with actions. It's like, okay, going back to the same, people are people.
People are people.
We can do great things. We can do terrible things. We can do in between. It's all right. Whatever shade of person you are, it's cool. You're a person. Whatever you are, you're a person. I'm going to respect you as a person. You can say whatever you want. You can do whatever. You can live your life however you want. Live it over there. I'm going to live mine right here. He's going to live his right there. Cool. I wish I could just talk to someone and be like, why do you hate anything? Why would I even waste the energy hating or belittling? I don't have the bandwidth, nor do I even have the time to. Even if there was a group of people I hated.
I think that people with too much time on their hands find reasons to be upset because it gives them a purpose.
Yeah.
And as humans, we're wired we want purpose because purpose gives us community, and we want to solve problems.
And your purpose could be so beautiful. So beautiful. Your life could be so beautiful. But then people focus on these little.
But when we want purpose and community and we want to solve problems, but sometimes when there aren't big problems like a war, a famine,
pandemic.
Well, I mean, yes.
Or immediate
but
food,
like I've
shelter,
got
water.
cancer, or like something like that. Sometimes when people don't have those problems, they start to look for them, and then they
He used the wrong words on his Instagram post. So I'm gonna.
Well, I wasn't referring specifically.
No, but you know what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
like, so that person went out of their way to message you,
to represent a third party,
and you're like, okay, I get that, but you don't think other people of the third party that was offended, other members of that group, other whatever, would see that and then be like, huh? Like they think, oh, only one. If I made a post that was very transphobic, do you think only one trans person is going to see that post? Dozens will see it.
Yeah.
Hundreds will see it.
So are you an aggressor? Are you a non-ally?
Yeah.
Because one small fraction of an audience saw something.
Yeah. And if you have to...
And took issue with it.
Yeah,
right?
and
Took
if you
issue
have to, like with the political correctness thing, if you have to sift through what I'm saying to find one or two words that trigger you, that's not really a problem. Like in the sense of, that's not an issue.
Right.
Because if I wanted to trigger everyone, I wouldn't make it so
Yeah.
mysterious.
I would
just,
it out there.
I would just be like, I
fuck-
hate Jews.
Fuck everybody.
Oh, I can't stand black people.
Right.
It would just be very
You
blah.
don't know.
You wouldn't have to be like, well, this one word might trigger something. Like, dude, if I really was that person, I would literally, it wouldn't be like a soft shot. I would come in here with a machine gun.
You'll know.
Like, you would
You'll
know.
If we've got a problem, you're going to know about it.
And so when people get attacked for whatever, when people get attacked for anything they say, or I'm like, guys, if someone really wanted to offend a particular group, it's really easy to offend any group.
Right.
You don't need to find a little problem. Like I was saying before,
Right.
We already know what the problem is. Let's go for the solutions. The big if there was a banner that said black people, Jews, blah, 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 and it was a big billboard downtown, it was like thumbs down, you'd be like, okay, that's the problem.
Yeah, right.
We need to take that down and you know, but it was like, oh well, I think like you're making you were saying the post about that was just America.
Saying that like we've settled our fair share of immigrants borders on immigrant selection, which is thereby racist and not a good look on your part.
But immigrants come from
right.
this country from
But,
all
like,
over the globe.
Anyone selects the immigrants. I think it's just a statistic that was put up. And anyway, all right, are you getting hungry?
Oh yeah.
Let's go grill some steaks.
Yeah,
man. We're gonna.
Sorry, I was just like.
No. We're gonna wrap up. We've had a very amazing conversation here, and I'm gonna put. This is one for the books. I really enjoyed the conversation.
No, sorry, I just like sometimes I dive in.
No. We can go for a long time, but I want to save. I mean, you got a lot more like to you, but we're gonna save that for another episode. Because I've got some grass-fed steaks that I want to throw on the grill.
Let's get it.
Liver. But I want to thank you for your time.
Anytime,
and
sir.
Coming in and talking with me, man.
I'm only a short drive away
because it's been fun. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and that has been this episode of the show. Hope you learned something. If you're offended, sorry.
Or not. It's okay. You can be.
We'll catch you next time. All right. Philip and CJ out.